Welcome everybody. The time is now 7 p.m. and I'm opening our ordinary meeting of Council this November 22nd, 2023. As always, we open our Council meetings by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands, waters and skies, the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We acknowledge and respect their continuing connection to lands, waters, skies, culture, and the contribution they make to the life and spirit of our community. We pay respect to their elders past and present and extend this respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Item 2, present and apologies. We have all councillors in attendance. CEO, do we have our officers present?
Thank you, Mayor. Abby Taddison is an apology this evening. And so is Jenny Walker. Apologies, yes.
Thank you very much. Item 3, pecuniary interest and conflict of interest disclosures. Councillors, do I have any disclosures that need to be made? No, and officers? No disclosures, thank you. Item 4, leave of absence of councillor. There are none. Item 5, mayoral election. Consistent with Clause 7 of the Borough of Queenscliff Governance Rules, the CEO will temporarily chair the meeting until the election of the mayor is appointed and assumes the chair.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, before I move into this item, I just want to thank both yourself as Mayor and the Deputy Mayor for the service to the organisation and the community that you've provided over the last 12 months. It's been a pleasure to work with you both and a great pleasure to have achieved what we've achieved in those 12 months. So thank you for that. Just for the gallery, there's a little bit of background to the mayoral election, so if you're patient, I will read through that because you don't all have agendas in front of you. So in accordance with Section 25, 1 of the Local Government Act 2020, at a meeting of council that is open to the public, the councillors must elect a councillor to be mayor of the council. In accordance with Section 25 3A of the Act and Clause 7 of the Borough of Queenscliff Governance Rules, the Chief Executive Officer will preside for the purposes of the election of the Mayor. If the Mayor is elected for a one-year term, the next election of the Mayor must be held on a day to be determined by Council that is as close to the end of 1 year term as reasonably practicable. This year that doesn't apply because we have a council election in October next year, October 2024. As background, the role of the Mayor under Section 18 of the Act is to chair council meetings, to be the principal spokesperson for the council, to lead engagement with the municipal community on the development of the council plan, report to the municipal community at least once a year on the implementation of the council plan, which generally comes through in the annual report that we produce, promote behaviour among councillors that meets the standards of conduct set out in the Councillor Code of Conduct, assist councillors to understand their role, take a leadership role in ensuring that the regular review of the performance of the CEO, and provide advice to the Chief Executive Officer, or myself, when the Chief Executive Officer is setting the agenda for council meetings. And finally, perform civic and ceremonial duties on behalf of the council. The Mayor is not eligible to be elected to the office of Deputy Mayor. The Mayor has the following specific powers as per Section 19 of the Act. The Mayor can appoint a councillor to be chair of a delegated committee and direct a councillor, subject to any procedures or limitations specified in the governance rules, to leave a council meeting if the behaviour of the councillor is preventing the council from conducting its business, to require the Chief Executive Officer to report to the council on the implementation of a council decision. The Act requires us to set a mayoral term, and as I previously mentioned, 2024 is an unusual year in that there's a council election. So the term by default will be 1 year, but we need to formally recognise that. So there's a recommendation in the agenda that council set the mayoral term for 1 year.
I'm happy to move that,
Thank
Mr.
you.
CEO.
Councillor Rebels, do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Minty. Is there any discussion? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Section 5.2, election of the mayor. In accordance with clauses 7 and 8 of the Borough of Queenscliff governance rules, the Chief Executive Officer will call for nominations of the office of the mayor. Before we get to that, under section 25 of the Act, the mayor must be elected by an absolute majority of the councillors. If an absolute majority of the councillors cannot be obtained at the meeting, the council may resolve to conduct a new election at a later specified time and date. An absolute majority is 3 councillors for the Borough of Queenscliff. If one councillor is a candidate for mayor, the meeting must declare that the councillor be duly elected as mayor. So, do we have any nominations for mayor of the Borough of Queenscliff for the next term?
Mr. CEO, I'd like to nominate Councillor Isabel Tolhurst for the position of mayor for the term of 1 year.
Thank you, Councillor Rebels. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Minty. Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to now nominate Councillor Michael Grout for the final term of this council. Hope he accepts the nomination.
I accept it by seconding myself, which sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? There's only 5 of us, and I am entitled to do that, so I'm seconding.
Thank you. Any further nominations? No? With that, I think the best way forward is to, by show of hands, go through the order, in the order that we have nominated. Those in support of Councillor Isabel Tolhurst taking the position of mayor, please show of hands. 3. That being the case, Councillor Grout, I'm sorry, we won't, I'm assuming no one's going to change their position, so we duly elect Councillor Isabel Tolhurst as the position of mayor for the term.
I call for a division on that and note that in the council minutes, please.
Sorry, just point of order. I don't think you can
Minty?
under 9.3 of the governance rules. Sorry.
Governance rules.
So do we record who supported the mayoral election?
No.
Not at all. That seems a bit odd. So how is it recorded in the minutes?
It's a motion that's carried, and because there's no division, we don't recall the. Councillor Gregow will confirm that, but because there's no division, we don't record the individual.
Yeah, but how do we then record it in the minutes, the fact that we weren't all supportive of that election?
I'm not sure. I'd have to take that on notice. Yeah.
So we can record it in that way. That would be really helpful, because that's the reality of the situation, isn't it?
If Councillor Gregow's comfortable, I will evacuate the chair and or vacate the chair and hand back to you.
Thank you, CEO. With that, I will proceed with item 5.3, election of a deputy mayor. We have a recommendation that's dual. We must, if we decide to have a deputy mayor, first determine that that be the case for the remaining year of the term, and then I will call for nominations. So in the first instance, do I have someone willing to put forward a motion that we have a deputy mayor for the 1 year term remaining in this council term. That's thank you, Councillor Ebbels, Councillor Minty to move, and a seconder. Councillor Ebbels, thank you very much. All in favour of having a Deputy Mayor for the term of 1 year? The motion is carried. All opposed, I should say. Thank you, Councillor Grigau.
Can call for a division on this one and note.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll call for a division. So all in favour of appointing a Deputy Mayor for the term of 1 year? Councillor Grout, Councillor Ebbels, Councillor Tolhurst and Councillor Minty, and all opposed? Councillor Grigau. The motion remains carried. With that, I'll move to call for nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Minty. Thank you, Councillor Minty. I'm happy to second that motion and nomination of Councillor Ebbels. Are there other nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor?
Nominate Councillor Grout for Deputy Mayor for the final term of this council.
Thank you, Councillor Grigau. Do we have someone to second that nomination?
We do. It is I.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor
Seems like
Grout.
a bit of a charade, doesn't it?
So in the spirit of the first election, we'll put Councillor Ebbels' nomination to the vote as the first nominee. So all in favour of appointing Councillor Ebbels to the position of Deputy Mayor for the remaining year of the term, please show of hands. And all in favour of Councillor Grout? Thank you. We have a motion passed in appointing Councillor Ebbels the Deputy Mayor for the remaining year of the term.
So do we have divisions on this one?
A division on the first section of the mayoral term. Grigau, have you finished your research?
No, just wait.
I think you can. I know it's not on the mayor, but I think you can.
Do you wish to call for a division, Councillor Grout?
I will.
Thank you. So with that, I'll call again for those in favour of electing Councillor Ebbels. I have Councillor Ebbels, Councillor Tolhurst and Councillor Minty, and all in favour of electing Councillor Grout or opposed to electing Councillor Ebbels. I have Councillor Grout and Councillor Grigau. So the motion remains carried with Councillor Ebbels as our Deputy Mayor. Item 5.5 is our incoming mayoral speech, and I will keep this relatively brief, but it has been a privilege to serve the community and lead our councillor group for 2023, and I'm delighted to have that opportunity again. It's been a big and a busy year, managing the sudden absence early in the term of our CEO, rapidly appointing an acting leader, managing significant community engagement on a number of key policy and strategy items, and also seeing the departure of one councillor and the appointment of a new one, to name just a few matters that have come to us this year. I'm pleased to have instituted what I believe have been some process improvements internally that sought to make our decision-making more effective, collaborative and productive ultimately for our community. These included commencing CEO councillor-only time to have more fluid and direct engagement with our CEO, giving more exposure to the councillor group through sharing the Bellarine Times column, initiating a values workshop to strengthen our working relationship with the executive team and create greater accountability between us, calling for a governance refresher workshop to support the capacity of our group and remind all councillors, as per the duty of the Mayor, of their responsibilities under the Code of Conduct and the Local Government Act, seeking regular feedback and reflection on our meeting process, but also on my leadership style in pursuit of continuous improvement, and exploring ways to strengthen the working relationships with officers for better community outcomes. To the community, I have sought to be open and available to you, to represent this community and tell our story in new forums and new media. And as a council group, collectively we have worked really hard to deliver on the council plan and to be accountable when things have gone wrong. And that is what you can expect for the year ahead. It will be another big year as the final year of the term, but this is a very dedicated group of councillors serving you who want the best for the community and will work hard to make that a reality. Among Council's diverse work and projects for the upcoming year are the completion of the Point Lonsdale Lighthouse Reserve Stage 2 works, continued delivery of our SERP, delivery of another budget that respects local context and limitations but doesn't scrimp on ambition or a commitment to delivering services of standard, continue advocacy at the state and federal levels, working with our newly appointed Audit and Risk Committee to ensure robust risk management and culture, delivering on our Reconciliation Action Plan, developed over more than 6 months this year, the finalisation of our CMMP for community consultation and preparation for ministerial approval, refining and strengthening our approach to community engagement, and ultimately, as we've mentioned many times, being in the last year of the term, creating a legacy and effective transition for the next council, with local government elections occurring in October. Council relies on community to help deliver this work in a way that reflects our ambitions, our values and our shared story. We're very fortunate to have an engaged and dedicated community passionate about the borough here and all that makes it special. We are better for listening, we are better for collaborating. This is both a commitment Council makes and an invitation to work with us. So thank you again for the privilege, and I very much look forward to working with you. Item 6, public question time. 6.1, public question status update. There are no public questions outstanding. 6.2, public questions. In accordance with Council's public question time guidelines, questions must be written and received by the CEO prior to 3 p.m. And in accordance with those guidelines, today I report that we have received 2 questions. The first comes from David Mitchell. David, would you like me to read it out? In July of this year, representations were made to Isabel Tolhurst and Ross Ebbels in regard to establishing a working group of community members and key stakeholders to prepare a business plan for the redevelopment of Golightly Caravan Park. On September 22, representatives of the Golightly Caravan Park Residents Association met with Isabel Tolhurst, Ross Ebbels and the CEO to discuss, among other matters, the establishment of a working group of community members and key stakeholders to prepare a business plan for the redevelopment of Golightly Caravan Park. To date, no response has been received to these representations. Will Council advise when it is proposed to establish a working group of community members and key stakeholders to prepare a business plan for the redevelopment of Golightly Caravan Park to ensure the greatest level of community and user acceptance of a future plan and avoid unnecessary conflict and confusion typically associated with proposals prepared without community participation? And I'll invite the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, and thank you for the question, David. The 2023-24 annual plan adopted by Council at the ordinary meeting in June this year included the following action: Golightly Park Development and Engagement Plan. Council has established an internal working group that is currently undertaking the preparatory work for this action, including a review of policy frameworks that now apply to the site following the introduction of the Marine and Coastal Act 2018, subsequently the release of the Victorian Marine and Coastal Strategy and the release of the Wadawurrung Healthy Country Plan. As part of this review, Council will speak with the Wadawurrung Traditional Owners Aboriginal Corporation, and following this, the Department of Environment, Energy and Climate Action, or DECA. These conversations will inform the inputs into any business plan and an initial recommendation to Council from the officers about the materials that would form part of any community engagement about the proposed development for the site. Officers anticipate the consultation with the Aboriginal Corporation, the Wadawurrung Aboriginal Corporation and DECO will be concluded in early 2024.
Working group consisting of community or key stakeholders?
Well, no, I didn't say that, David, no.
You said you made a point about consultation. My point is, the question says, will you establish a working group?
We'll put a recommendation to cancel once we've done the preparatory work. Yep.
Thank you for the answer.
Public question number 2 comes from the Queenscliff Community Association. David, would you like? Thanks for coming up.
Prefacing the community is probably optimistic for a better year next year, and in prefacing the question, I know we've asked the question to the CEO has predicated an answer on coming to a QCA meeting, but given that our time span for meetings will probably take into next year, I think it's important, given Council are considering extra powers for the CEO, and given that there is a more efficient financial system, if we could have the answer tonight to the costings for the particular question. Thank you. If you, I haven't got the question, but if you want to read that out, thank you.
Thanks, David. So David's question, or the QCO's question, reads thus. The October agenda stated, Council's first action post-endorsement of the SERP, Climate Emergency Response Plan, will be to develop an implementation plan. The implementation plan will include resourcing commitments, climate governance, prioritisation, and the development of key budget requirements, highlighting areas that can be met by Council, met by community, or require state or federal government assistance and funding. The implementation plan will also lay out the framework that will be used for the monitoring and evaluation of the SERP. In the absence of the promised SERP implementation plan, promised as key action 1, in addition to key budget requirements, as explained above, can the missing implementation plan be explained and the actual costings for the 15 completed actions identified in the October agenda be publicly itemised and provided tonight for the benefit of the program budget transparency? Should an implementation plan not be available, some explanation of the monitoring and evaluation processes Council has in place should be clarified. And I'll invite the CEO to respond again.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. And before I do respond, just want to clarify for the record that the Council's not making a decision on granting me additional powers tonight. I'm not sure where that notion comes from. Council adopted a Climate Emergency Response Plan implementation framework in April 2022. In my response to the email received from QCA last week, which asked the same question as tonight's public question, I offered to come and speak to the QCA executive and respond to any questions about the implementation of the Climate Emergency Response Plan. This includes explaining the integration of the Climate Emergency Response Plan projects into the council budget process. The offer to come and speak to the QCA executive about these matters still stands.
We don't have everyone in the community at the meeting, so just given that Council are going to adopt budget discussions, can we have some clarification on cost?
You're more than welcome to invite anybody you want to the QCA executive meeting.
Happy to have you, but that will be sometime next year.
Look forward to it.
And written responses will be provided as per responses tonight to our public questions. Item 7, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. 7.1, Ordinary Council meeting on 25 October 2023. We have a recommendation that the minutes of the Ordinary Meeting of Council in October as distributed be confirmed as an accurate record. Do I have someone to move that recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Minty, and a seconder. Councillor Ebbels. All in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 7.2, Ordinary Council Meeting on 25 October 2023, confidential minutes. So as per the previous item, the recommendation is that the confidential minutes from the October meeting be adopted as an accurate record. Do I have someone to move this recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Minty. Councillor Ebbels is our mover and Councillor Minty as our seconder. All in favour? All opposed?
Oh, sorry, no, it's
Sorry.
fine. Yep, no, it's fine.
Sorry, I'll take a call for all in favour again. Thank you. Councillor Grout, just confirming, we're just taking the vote again because we didn't see Councillor Grigau's hand. Thank you very much. That's also passed unanimously. Item 7.3, Special Council Meeting on 8 November 2023. A copy of the minutes from the special meeting held on November 8, 2023 was distributed to councillors under separate cover. The recommendation here, as above, is that the minutes as distributed be confirmed as an accurate record. Do I have a mover for this, please?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grigau, our mover, and our seconder. Thank you, Councillor Minty. All in favour of acknowledging the minutes as an
Clarify one thing on this special council meeting on the 8th. I know they are governance rules, actually saying dates and times of meeting. 11.2, Chief Executive Officer must ensure that reasonable notice is provided to the public of any council meeting. Was this made?
Confirming this question is for the CEO, Councillor Grigau.
Yes, correct.
Martin, can I refer that question to you, please?
Councillor Grau, this is a special council meeting requested by the councillors.
No,
And so the governance rules have a separate set of conditions for taking or creating and preparing a special meeting.
councillors didn't call this meeting.
I wrote to the CEO as per the requirement requesting that the meeting be held, following a briefing at an assembly prior to that to confirm the process. Follow-up questions, Councillor Grigau?
Okay, noted.
Thank you. If there are no further questions on the confidential minutes, I'll put the adoption of them to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 8, record of informal meetings of councillors. The recommendation against our list of informal meetings is that, appearing in adjunct to item 7, that it be noted. Do I have someone to move this, please? Thank you, Councillor Ebbels and Councillor Minty as our seconder. All in favour of adopting these or noting the record? Thank you very much. Passed unanimously. Item 9, notice of motion. 9.1, notice of motion status update. No notices of motion are outstanding. 9.2, motion on notice. No notices of motion were received. Item 10, petitions and joint letters. In accordance with the Borough of Queenscliff governance rules, a petition or joint letter presented to Council must lay on the table until the next ordinary meeting of the Council, and no motion, other than to receive the petition or joint letter, may be accepted by the chairperson unless Council agrees to deal with it earlier. 10.1 is our petition for this evening, the relocation of the EV chargers from Learmonth Street. On 13 November 2023, Council met with a group of residents about the electric vehicle charging stations in Learmonth Street. At the meeting, Council was handed a petition addressed to the Mayor and Councillors from joint submitters Josephine Pitt and Linda Pettygrove, and I acknowledge our petitioners here tonight. Consistent with Division 9 of the Governance Rules, the petition is now tabled for Council's information. The petition reads as follows. The Mayor and Councillors, Borough of Queenscliff, we, the undersigned residents of the Borough of Queenscliff, submit this petition as follows. We consider the positioning of the EV chargers outside of the council offices and town hall in Learmonth Street to be inappropriate. We request the Queenscliff Council to give an undertaking to relocate the charging stations to a site to be chosen following broad community engagement and assessment. We request the relocation works to be finalised by 30 June 2024. We also request the creation of a policy to cover EV charging stations and points and other climate-related infrastructure to be considered in conjunction with the heritage and neighbourhood characteristic overlays. The policy be completed by 28 February 2024. The petition was signed by 133 people. 127 of the signatories are Borough of Queenscliff residents. So the recommendation as per the governance rules is that Council receives the relocation of the EV chargers from Learmonth Street petition and lays it on the table until the next ordinary meeting of Council. Do I have someone to move this, please? Thank you, Councillor Grigau. And a seconder in Councillor Ebbels. All in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 11 is our functions attended list. So the list details representation by Mayor and Councillors at public events and meetings between 19 October and November 15. The recommendation here is that the functions report be received. Do I have someone to move this, please? Thank you. Councillor Ebbels is our mover and Councillor Minty is our seconder. All in favour of receiving the report? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 12, Chief Executive Officer. 12.1, CEO Report for November 2023. Purpose of this report is to provide Council an update on current projects and operational activities not reported through the quarterly reporting process. Mr. CEO, I'll invite you to speak to the report if you wish.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take the report as read and happy to take any questions if it's put on the table.
Thank you very much. So to put this on the table, we have a recommendation that Council receive the CEO report for November 2023. Do I have someone to move that, please? Thank you. Councillor Minty is our mover and I'm happy to second that. All in favour of receiving the report? For proceeding to questions? Thank you. That's passed unanimously. So I'll now open to questions if they exist for the CEO about the report as presented. Councillor Ebbels.
Thank you, Mayor Tolhurst. Just a couple of questions to the CEO. Just the first one in regard to the container deposit scheme. I note your report here. What's the next stage of? Do we know with Tomra a timeline about when and if they're going to actually proceed with this container deposit scheme on the Queenscliff Bowling Club site?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ebbels. So Tomra wrote to me on Thursday last week following the community presentation and just sent me through a request to commence the process to enter into a sublease with the state government and the borough for the site that they'd identified at the Queenscliff Bowls Tennis Croquet Association. So we, on Monday, I wrote to the Department of Environment, Energy and Climate Action to seeking in principle support for us to start to the process of preparing a sublease, and they've responded and said that they provide in principle support. Today I've started to draft a sublease which will be reviewed by the Minister's delegate, but also the two parties who will be subtenants, or sorry, the tenant and the subtenant. So if that's all continues on that path, the intent of Tomra Cleanaway, if the Minister's delegate signs it, is that they will try and have it in before Christmas to take advantage of the peak season in the borough.
Thank you. It's interesting how quickly Decca got back to you. That's
It was very interesting.
very interesting. The other one was just in regard to the emergency management. It talks about the management planning committee for endorsement. After it's endorsed, where does the public see that? Or is it published on our website, or do we promote it? And then the next section talks about the commander of the Ballarat CFA talking about, sorry, I'm just looking for my notes here, about smoke detectors and functioning. What role can we play in informing our community of these actions that need to be taken?
Thank you, Councillor Evans, and through you, Mayor. Once the Municipal Emergency Management Plan is endorsed by the Regional Emergency Management Committee, we will put a link and some information on our website. It'll also be available on the State Emergency website, but we'll do a link locally. In terms of community information around being prepared for upcoming seasons, in particular the seasons over the next few years with the El Nino in place. What we have done is I think McKenna, correct me if I'm wrong here, we've updated our website to make sure that all the links are available to go to the CFA. The intent being that we will, in different formats, and I think we also did it in the most recent Borough Bites, is to just encourage people to go to that CFA website, because it's following the Royal Commission, the one source of truth has become the really important principle that all agencies have committed to. So if we would encourage, and we'll continue to publicly encourage people to go to that website.
Thank you very much.
Further questions for the CEO, Councillor Minty?
Apologies. Can you give an approximate number of visitors who came into the drop-in and spoke to our officers regarding the active transport strategy?
Yeah, thank you. So we had 4 days where one of our engineers was available for the drop-in, and we averaged about 3 people a day. So I think if my maths is correct, that gets us up to about 12 people. But we did have a number of couples, which was great. It was really good. The initial feedback is the conversations were varied, the issues that were raised were varied, and we'll obviously present a summary of those matters to the councillors once we've, I think we're meeting on Friday, to put that together and provide it to council.
Further questions, Councillor Grigau?
Could you please advise the community what our financial contribution to be a member of G21 and what benefit we get from that membership financially?
Through you, Mayor. Our financial contribution is between $6,000 and $7,000. I don't have the exact amount on me now. So proportionally, our community pays the same amount as any other community member across the region. So the way the fees are structured is that it's a standard rate for every person in the region. For our $6,000 or $7,000, we get an opportunity to have input into the document that I've referred to here, which is a region plan. We make decisions on things like the integrated transport strategy for the region and have input into that. We have the opportunity to present and involve ourselves in advocacy to both the state and federal governments, and annually our contribution includes a trip to Canberra for 2 days of conversations with parliamentarians there, and that includes the Mayor and the CEO, and then the CEO group from G21 go up at another occasion, and we spend time with the department secretaries, again, advocating for important projects in the region and important issues in the region. So I'm not sure if I can quantify that for you, Councillor Grigau, but certainly we have access to rooms and meetings that we wouldn't have access to if we weren't part of G21.
I would just also add we have an equal vote to the more populous member councils. So despite our small population and small financial contribution, we are one of the 5 votes sitting around that table and maintain a board position and representation in that capacity as well. Further questions for the CEO on the report before us? No. With that, I'll then put it to the vote that we receive this report for November 2023. All in favour? We've already done this, haven't we?
We have.
Thanks. My apologies. Item 13, Heritage Planning and Infrastructure. Item 13.1, the Planning Permit Activity Report for November. I'll welcome Tim, our Senior Planner, to give us an overview of what's before us tonight.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. Good evening, everyone. Just in relation to the Planning Permit Activity Report, up until the close of business on the 13th of November 2023, just gives a breakdown on page 1 of the different statuses of the applications. I'll take the report as read and as per the recommendations. Just a couple of planning matters I'd like to just bring to your attention. So the first one is in relation to PA 2023062, so that's the address of 105 107 Point Lonsdale Road and 1 Simpson Street. So we received 9 objections for that, which means that councillors will receiving a briefing for that on the 6th of December. And the second matter I just want to make comment on is in relation to PA 2022083, if my eyes serve me right. It's in relation to 5 Beach Street. So some members of the community will be aware a couple of weeks ago, VCAT made the decision to allow the permit. Councillors will be receiving a full briefing on that on the 6th of December, particularly in relation to the implications of the Fisherman's Flat Heritage Study we have going and what that means in terms of the planning, the amendment into the planning scheme and implications around that for, I guess, any further applications similar to 5 Beach Street. So sort of unpicking the decision and giving a brief to councillors on that matter.
Thank you, Tim. With that, I'll ask that I have someone to move that the planning activity report for November be received. Thank you, Councillor Grout. And a seconder, I'll have Councillor Grigau. All in favour of receiving the report? Thank you, so passed. Did you have further questions, pardon me, and wish to speak to the motion? I apologise. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Grout.
So just on that last matter you spoke to, so the VCAT determination, and you said you will be bringing a briefing to the council about that determination and the implications for the planning scheme amendment that we have in train, or we're proposing for Fisherman's Flat Heritage Overlay improvements. Whenabouts do you envisage we might get that briefing?
If I didn't mention that before, that's also on the 6th of December, Councillor Grout.
On 6th of December. Right.
Apologies if I didn't make that clear.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Grigau, questions or comments?
Approximately how much was spent on the VCAT hearing for the Beach Street property? What were the legal costs and, approximately?
Approximately around $40,000, Councillor Grigau. I don't have the exact figure, but it's in that vicinity. It's a breakdown of legal fees for Harwood and Andrews, and also the expert witness in terms of the heritage advisor.
And that would exclude our council officer time that we actually devoted to it? Was this?
Yeah, excludes. It was a 2-day hearing, so we had the senior planner who was at that hearing. I also observed the hearing as well.
Thank you.
I will put it to other councillors if there are questions about the planning permit report. Great, thank you very much, Tim. And having done things in a funny order, we have moved and carried this motion unanimously and cleared up our questions as well, so thank you. That brings us to item 14, governance and finance. The first item before us tonight in this portfolio is, in fact, the appointment of council portfolios and delegates for the 2023-24 year. Mr. CEO, did you wish to speak to this at all?
I don't think so, Mayor. I'm happy to take any questions you may have, but I think it's a process you're familiar with.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is five-pronged, being A, that council determine the council appointment of portfolios for the next 12-month period. B, that it determines the councillor reps on council's audit and risk committee. C, determines its representatives on the CEO Employment and Remuneration Advisory Committee. D, determines its delegates for the state, regional and local organisations as outlined in this report. And E, determines its councillor representation on the various reference groups outlined in this report. Do I have someone to move a motion with suggestions or recommendations for those 5 elements? Thank you,
Madam Mayor,
Councillor
yes, I'm
Evans.
quite happy to make the following recommendations. I'll start off and hopefully Jackie can keep up. But under A, the portfolios, health and wellbeing, Councillor Minty. The portfolio environment, Councillor Grout. Local economy, Councillor Tolhurst. Heritage planning and infrastructure, Councillor Ebbels. Governance and finance, Councillor Grigau. In B, the audit and risk, proposed the committee members being Councillor Ebbels, Councillor Grout and Councillor Grigau. C, which is the CEO Employment and Remuneration Advisory Committee. The Mayor, Councillor Tolhurst, Councillor Ebbels and Councillor Grout. D, Association of Bayside Municipalities, Councillor Grout. The Barwon Southwest Local Government Waste Forum, Councillor Minty. The Geelong Regional Library Board, Councillor Ebbels with Councillor Minty as a sub-rep. Geelong Heritage Collection Advisory Committee, Councillor Ebbels. The Municipal Association of Victoria, Councillor Ebbels with the sub-rep being Councillor Tolhurst. Rural Councils Victoria, Councillor Tolhurst. Tourism Greater Geelong and the Ballerine, Councillor Tolhurst. Ballerine Community Safety Group, Councillor Minty. G21 Region Alliance Board, Councillor Tolhurst. G21 Health and Wellbeing Sport and Rec Pillar, Councillor Minty. G21 Cultural and Economic Development Pillar, Councillor Grigau. G21 Sustainability Pillar, Councillor Grout. G21 Managing Growth Advisory Group, Councillor Ebbels. And E, the Council Reference Groups. Community Service Awards Reference Group, Councillor Minty. Community Grants Advisory Reference Group, Councillor Minty. Memorial and Plaques Reference Group, Councillor Ebbels. Lived Experience Disability Group, Councillor Minty and Councillor Grigau. Environmental Reference Group, Councillor Grout. Coastal and Marine Management Plan Steering Committee, Councillor Grout and Mayor Councillor Tolhurst. Point Lonsdale Reserve Project Control Group, Councillor Tolhurst and Councillor Grout.
Thank you for wading through that, Councillor Ebbels. Do I have someone to second those recommendations as presented? Thank you, Councillor Minty. Councillor Ebbels, do you wish to speak to that long list of recommendations?
No, happy to leave it on the table.
No worries. Thank you, Councillor Minty. Anything from your quarters? Great. With that, I'll put those recommendations for delegations and portfolios to the vote. So all in favour? Thank you. That's passed unanimously. Our next item at 14.2 is the council meeting schedule for 2024. Martin, do you wish to speak to what's presented here?
Just briefly, Mayor, and just to really highlight the in September next year, where the meeting will be held a week earlier than it would normally be within that month, and that's just because we move into the caretaker period for the elections. So that'll be the last chance the council has to make significant decisions. But otherwise, same day, same pattern as this year.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is that council approves the schedule of ordinary meetings of council and planning review meetings, as Martin said, which are Wednesdays at 7 p.m. when necessary for 2024 as presented, and B, publishes this 2024 council meeting date schedule on the council website. Do I have someone to move that recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Grigao. And a seconder, I'm happy to second that. Councillor Tolhurst. Councillor Grigao, did you have any questions or comments about the schedule? No worries. We're both nursing wounds, I think, on fingers, not appropriate or good for council business. But with that, I'll put this to the vote. So all in favour of the two recommendations? Thank you. So passed. Item 14.3 is the first quarter implementation update for the annual plan 2023 to 2024. Martin, I'll call on you to speak to this if you wish.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I think, as the councillors would have noted, we've made some changes to the template just to reflect the feedback we received at the last time we presented the annual report, and hopefully that's addressed the request, and we're happy to take further feedback. Otherwise, we're off to a good start. A lot of projects moving along, some completed, which is fantastic in the first quarter, and we're very happy to present the update to you, councillors, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is that council notes the quarterly report update against the annual plan 2023 to 24 for the period 1 July to 30 September 2023. Pardon me. Do I have someone to move that recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Grigao. And a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Ebbels. Councillor Grigao, did you have questions about the report for the CEO?
No, I'm just happy that the report's, giving clarity and further details. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grigao. Councillor Ebbels, questions or comments from you? Other councillors, do you wish to comment or have questions for the CEO on this plan? I might just ask one, thank you, Martin, and that's around, and probably following on from David Mitchell's question around Golightly Park Development and Engagement Plan, and that is to express that the intention was in developing this, or confirm rather, that while a recommendation will come from officers, the intention has always been to include the community, and we have made that reference in the meeting with the Golightly Park Residents Association. So the intention always has been in developing this item that community and key stakeholders will have a role at the right moment when we've got enough information to present and gather community consultation on.
Yes, Mayor, and I think that's when the councillors set the annual plan, that's why they created an action which had a development plan and an engagement plan. So the engagement plan will really clarify the exact method of engagement with both community and stakeholders. Yep.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, if there are no further questions for the CEO, I'll put the receipt of this report to the vote. So all in favour? Thank you. So passed. Item 14.4, still within our governance and finance portfolio, the 2023-24 quarterly financial report at 30 September 2023 And I'll invite Gihan to present on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll take the report as read, but would like to add just a few comments. One thing we have done with the Q1 forecast report, we have reclassified some of our budget 24-25 budget items to provide a better comparison with the financial result of the similar council. So, but again, I would like to mention that reclassification has not had any financial impact. It's just a reclassifying item within the income statement of our financial statements. In terms of the Q1 forecast, apart from adjusting for the timing of the financial assistance grant that we received in advance, because when we were finalizing the 24-25 budget, at that time we did not anticipate to receive anything in advance, but in fact we received, so we had to make that adjustment. And then there are some carry forward capital and operating projects from the last financial year, so we have adjusted those in the Q1 forecast. So apart from those adjustments, only key adjustment is the allocation of $39,000 to cover the additional costs associated with EV charging stations. So once eliminated the impact of the timing and the carry forward operating projects, there's no any change in the underlying results on recurring basis as detailed in the quarterly financial report. So yeah, so in summary, in the Q1 reports, we have not included any additional operating income or operating expense items. So as a result, on recurring basis, there's no any impact on our underlying results. Recommendation is on page 55, Council.
Thank you, Gihan. The recommendation is that Council note the quarterly finance report to 30 September 2023 and approves allocating $39,000 from accumulated cash surplus to the EV charging stations project to cover the additional costs with the project. Do I have someone to move this recommendation as presented? Got Councillor Ebbels as our mover and Councillor Minty as our seconder. Councillor Ebbels, did you have questions for Gihan or wish to comment on the report?
Just one question, and thank you, Gihan, for your report as always. Just wondering, I know we have money that we have in reserves, whether it's general reserve, asset reserves. Just where would we see the interest from those deposits? Does it come under other income, or where would we see it in the reporting?
You, Madam Mayor, thank you, Councillor Ebbels, for the question. Yes, when it comes to interest income, we do not add that interest income to those respective reserve accounts, so we consider it as part of the operating income, so it's get reported under other income. So we have the interest income accounted under other income on our income statement, comprehensive income statement.
Thank you.
Councillor Minty? No? And other councillors, do you wish to provide comment or ask questions of Gihan on the report? No further debate. I'll then put this noting of our quarterly report to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Thank you, Gihan. Item 14.5, review of instruments of delegation. Sorry, can you turn your mic again?
I'd like to move a motion to defer this item. It's due to the fact that we haven't had a formal briefing on it, on this item.
Thank you, Councillor Grigard. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor Grout, thank you.
Councillor Grigard moved it and I'm seconding.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Grigard, did you wish to speak to it further?
Yes, the reason why I've sort of requested this motion to be deferred, that we didn't actually get a proper full council briefing to fully consider this item. I think was a roundabout way at the end of a meeting and no papers distributed for us to actually fully consider.
Thank you, Councillor Grigau. Councillor Grout, did you wish to add comment?
Oh, look, I just want to add, I think we need a bit more time just to consider these delegations. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I'll put the motion for deferral to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 14.6, nomination for Geelong Performing Arts Centre Trust. The purpose of this report is for Council to nominate a candidate from the Borough of Queenscliff for consideration for appointment to the Geelong Performing Arts Centre Trust. Martin, did you wish to speak to this report?
Just through you, Mayor, and thank you. As you will note, we've been invited by Creative Victoria to make a nomination, and the officers are considering that Councillor Ebel spends a lot of time in Little Mallup Street. As we've just heard through the appointments, we're recommending that Council nominates Councillor Ebels for consideration.
Thank you, Martin. And this was consistent while our portfolios have changed to your long service in the Culture and Development pillar for G21, as I understand it. We have the recommendation to nominate Councillor Ross Ebels as the candidate for appointment to the Geelong Performing Arts Centre Trust. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Minty, and someone to second it, Councillor Grigau. Thank you. Councillor Minty, did you wish to speak to this recommendation?
Thank you, Mayor. I think that Councillor Evans is a fine nomination or candidate for this particular role.
Sorry, point of order. Sorry. Thank you.
There we go. I think he's fine nominee role. I know he does take this part of his portfolio seriously, and I think he'll do a fine job for us as a council.
Thank you, Councillor Minty. Councillor Grigau, do you wish to add comment?
Yeah. Good luck and enjoy.
Any further comments on the recommendation or item before us? No? Thank you, councillors. With that, I'll put this to the vote. So all in favour of nominating Councillor Ebels to the Trust, GPAC Trust? Thank you. Passed unanimously. That brings us to item 15, questions without notice. 15.1, questions without notice status update. There are no questions without notice are outstanding. Item 15.2, questions without notice. And I now call for questions without notice from the councillors. Councillor Grout.
Yeah, so this question will be to you, I think, Mr. CEO. It's about the seasonal camping and preparation for seasonal camping. Up to about 3 or 4 years ago, our preparation for the seasonal camping in Royal Park and Victoria Park included the arborist assessments and tree works, as you know, but there was also mulching of trees and staking and tree guarding, and there was also levelling and top dressing of sites on an as-needs basis. Could you please outline for us which of these maintenance items we are continuing with, as they do contribute to better recreational and camping experiences?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Grout. Unfortunately, Abby is not here this evening, who is managing the caravan parks at the moment, but we have completed our arborist inspections and undertaken works to make sure that the parks are safe. Stuart, I'm not sure if you've got anything to add to that, or otherwise I'll take the rest on notice and pass it on. Yep. Sorry, Councillor Grell, I'll have to take that on notice and just clarify. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Grout. Further questions without notice? No? With that, I'll move to item 16, which is a list of the council meetings. So, planning review meeting on Wednesday, 6 December if required. council a listening post at the Point Lonsdale Market on September 10 from 11 till 12 p.m, and our next and final ordinary meeting of council for this calendar year on Wednesday the 13th of December from 7 p.m, which is earlier in the month than they usually would be for those playing at home. Item 17 is the close of meeting. So the time is 8:05 and I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you to those who've joined us in the gallery and online.